Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to GNR Central. And today I just want to talk and show you guys a clip of Izzy Stradlin talking about the controversial original cover for Appetite for Destruction. So this is from a show called Power Hour. This was an interview that Guns N' Roses gave shortly after Appetite came out. They were in England, they were playing some shows there, and Slash and Izzy are being interviewed, and the interviewer asked them about the sleeve inside the album and how they came up with the album's title and why they chose the particular artwork that they did. So here's what Izzy had to say, and then I'm going to talk a bit about the controversy around the album cover.
Well, Izzy, your first album, Appetite for Destruction, got very good reviews, but I understand there's a little bit of controversy regarding the photograph, or the painting, in fact, that was on the sleeve. What was the situation with that?
Well, it was a postcard, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, if they don't get it, I mean, we got a flack because of whatever this girl's tits hanging out or something. It wasn't even hanging.
Original artwork for Appetite for Destruction, the Robert Williams painting that you guys are probably familiar with, that was in the inner sleeve of Appetite for Destruction. It was originally supposed to be the front cover of the album, but eventually, controversy took over and persuaded the band to change the artwork. Now, I want to talk a bit about the painter behind the actual artwork on the album, Robert Williams. So this is the original artwork for Appetite for Destruction. It's based on a Robert Williams painting that, coincidentally enough, has the name, or is called Appetite for Destruction. So as I said, it was created by a young artist at the time named Robert Williams, who was really having a hard time finding a gig that suited him. So the painter was a poor match for the period. During a time when real art meant abstract splashes of color, Williams' paintings were detailed and realistic, and he was unable to really get the art world's attention, so he headed to the unemployment office in hopes of finding illustration gigs. So following a series of further fruitless attempts at matching Williams' skills with prospective employers, the manager of the unemployment office came up with a last chance desperation match. There was one job that everyone who had been to said was awful. They told me that the freak that ran it was some guy called Big Daddy, and I said, wait a minute, would that be Ed Roth? They said it was, and I said, let me edit, I was born for this job. He was too. So as Roth's art director, Williams did everything from t-shirt designs to assisting with car customizations. So when Roth closed his studio in 1970, Williams moved over to Zap Comics, where he worked alongside artists Robert Crumb and Rick Griffin, both of whom have contributed essential album covers of their own. So by the mid-70s, Williams was a complete anomaly, and he was an artist who could lay down paint like a Dutch master, but whose biggest success was underground comics and hot rod t-shirts. And rather than fight it, the painter rolled with it. Again, from the Malicious Respondents book, the painter further realized that exaggerated forms like cartoons were the truest, purest example of abstractation. Robert Williams arrived at the notion that cartooning in its undiluted form is a true expression of an accessible art form for the public of the 20th century. He executed a series of what he termed super cartoons, which were blatantly cartoonish tableau painted in a fine, meticulous style. So one such cartoon was dated in 1978, though reference books on the artist date the painting to 1979. A young street vendor selling wind-up toy robots named Mr. Minimite lies unconscious on the sidewalk, her dress torn open and her underwear around her calves. Another robot who was dressed like Williams' old Zap Comics colleague Robert Crumb, but with a bear trap for a mouth, stomps the Minimites and crushes them in the steel clamps that he calls hands. So from behind a wooden fence leaps some kind of armored red beast with daggers for teeth and rat fink-like tongue lolling about. He sports a German helmet, not unlike those associated with outlaw bikers, and what appear to be sperm with skulls for heads emanate from the monster. The painting's title, Appetite for Destruction. So the lowbrow art of Robert Williams, which features Appetite on its cover, quotes Williams as saying that the super cartoons were intended to have no more meaning than a picture on a cocktail napkin. And if they appear to have some people to be no more than tightly rendered cartoons, well, those people are right. However, the book goes on to single out Appetite in particular as possibly the most appealing to those concerned with moral issues, noting that the scene captures the split second prior to the Red Monster carrying out justice on the assaulting robot. How the image came to adorn Guns N' Roses' debut album is another story altogether. So back in 2011, Axl Rose told the guys at the metal show that the original cover design was much different. Loudwire reported at the time that Axl also revealed that he originally wanted the cover of Appetite for Destruction to be the Challenger shuttle explosion, which was also featured on the cover of Time magazine. He said he wanted to use it due to the striking nature of the image, but the band was persuaded not to use it. So the original cover they did use was also controversial, including the inside comic-like image of a woman being assaulted. So Danny Sugarman's 1991 biography of the band, Appetite for Destruction, also offers a different account. So according to the author, the band was floundering for a title when Axl happened to see a postcard image of Williams' painting and noticed in the back in small capital letters read the following words, Appetite for Destruction. Sugarman states that Warner Brothers, Geffen's distributor, balked at using the painting for the album's cover, so Axl felt compelled to point to the picture in and of itself wasn't indecent, it's what people chose to see. To him, it represented the robot as society. The girl is a metaphor for either the band or individual humanity as a whole. In other words, he picked artwork that represented the progress of Western culture that has outstripped man's spiritual and emotional ability to deal with it. So the band ended up winning, and Williams' cover hit stores only to be greeted by immediate backlash. Both American and British chains refused to stock the album, so another edition was printed with the now iconic cross cover, also called the black sleeve, and Williams' painting was moved to the inner sleeve. This is the kind of cover story that may have destroyed another band, but not Guns N' Roses. In fact, Appetite for Destruction has sold close to 20 million copies, and as for Robert Williams, the artist has finally, through begrudgingly, been accepted by the fine art establishment that shunned him for decades. Here's some news clips and interview clips with the members of Guns N' Roses, as well as Robert Williams talking about the original artwork for Appetite for Destruction.
Sensationalistic work has attracted many fans, them Guns N' Roses. But his painting on the inner sleeve of their Appetite for Destruction caused a recent controversy in California. A feminist group branded it a glorification of rape.
Glorification of rape.
Good enough, right? When we took it off the front cover and put it on the inside. You know, that blows. They can't do anything about it.
They were unheard of, and I considered them to be just another punk rock band comes to my door wanting artwork.
It was a postcard we found in a store in Melrose. I think Axl turned me on to it.
I loved the picture, but I kind of submitted it as a joke because it was so outrageous. And I was like, you mean you want to use this? I was like, this is great. So then we just went for it.
They even used the name of the painting was Appetite for Destruction.
I love the artwork and the talent that was involved in it. And I think that since it was such an outrageous picture, that like the skill and the talent involved in making it gets overlooked.
I gave them my best wishes, but I warned them that this was going to get them in a lot of trouble, and they got them in exactly the amount of trouble I thought it was going to get them into.
A lot of people don't have anything else to do.
Almost 30 years after Appetite for Destruction came out, Robert Williams was interviewed about the painting and what his thoughts were looking back. So he originally tried to convince the band not to use the image, as I showed you in the clip before, and due to his experience creating what he terms questionable material, Williams was already familiar with trying to defend shocking or sensational artwork. While helping to create the counterculture Zap Comics with Robert Crumb in the 60s, he saw several people sent to jail and knew this image would be problematic if it ended up on a mainstream album. This was not for the general public. This was never to go into people's homes, Williams said. There is no sophistication in this effing picture. It's an overdone cartoon for people who like underground comics and understand the underground art, but that's a very small audience. Still, Rose and company were not to be deterred. His agent called up and said, "We would be very interested in this picture," and I said, "Well, you know, this is not a good idea. This is too violent and we're going to get in an awful lot of trouble." Williams remembers, I said, "Why don't you just come by my house and we'll go through a couple hundred slides and we'll pick you something that you might be a little more palatable." Williams originally also thought that Axl was actually a female. So he said, so a car pulls up in front of my house and this guy gets out and this other guy gets out and I thought it was a girl, Williams recalls, but it was actually Axl Rose. After I got to see he was a guy, he was a nice young fella. I always liked him. He's very polite, shy, and mild-mannered. Eventually, Rose won over Williams, and the artist remembers thinking, "If you have the guts to put this on an effing album cover, man, I'm behind you." Williams also talked a bit about the painting and the meaning behind it for him. He said the image has vengeance and justice in it. So Williams reasoned that there's a story behind the action of the painting, which explained its violent imagery. We've got a girl on the ground that sells toy robots that has been assaulted by another robot, he says, and coming up over the fence is an avenging monster to get him. So this picture has vengeance. So that does it for this episode of Guns N' Roses True Story. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I want to shed some more light on who Robert Williams was as a person and really his roots starting out as an artist. So thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button if you enjoyed that video and be sure to share the video as well. Also be sure to subscribe if you love GNR as much as I do, and go check us out at gnrcentral.com for the latest and greatest Guns N' Roses news. Take care.